And we'll see if it comes up on the Best Time Sports Show live.
Are we still sponsored by the Range?
We are, but we're live, so you might want to hold on to that. Good afternoon. It is Thursday, September 3rd, 2020, coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in very smoky and hazy Ellensburg, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm, and with me, as always, is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
We are streaming live on YouTube. We're on Twitter, at Lamm Sports, on Facebook, the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and please check out our all-new webpage, www.lamb. Do I even have to include the www? Is that a thing?
You absolutely do not.
Okay, so I'm not, because it's really hard to say.
That is a leftover from an era bygone.
I am, because I just, you know what? Okay, so side note, we're already off topic. I'm watching, I'm watching Cobra Kai.
That's a great show.
Yeah. Well, so I'm like in episode 3 or whatever, 4. I don't know. I've watched like 4 episodes. And he's going around trying to distribute these flyers. Johnny Lawrence, right? Is trying to distribute these flyers. And at some point in time, he goes up to these kids that are these youngins that are kissing, and he goes, "Hey, you should check out this website. It's www. Cobra Kai. Period." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that is totally my generation." By the way.
You know what I haven't seen in a long time is a .net.
Right? No, we still
not
have
a whole lot of .nets.
There.
No, but I just haven't seen one in a while.
Oh, what'll blow your mind is that there's a .beer.
Oh, with 2 E's?
Yeah, beer. B-E-E-R.
.B-E-E-R.
B-E-R, like beer. Yeah, .beer. There's literally a .beer domain.
Is this specifically for brewing companies?
I would imagine, but I don't know how they would enforce that. Anyway, long story short, lambsports.com, and you can find links to past shows and the current trivia question on there. So there's all kinds of stuff. And we're already so far off topic, it's not even funny. Brought to you by The Range. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. At 34,000 square feet, The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 7. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, yeah, I mean, this would normally be where the beginning part, where all that crap we talked about just now, this would be where we do that.
We just got a little ahead of the gun there.
We did. We got NBA basketball, Portland Timbers, NCAA football, of course, Korean baseball, KBO.
Yep.
We'll talk a little bit about the WNBA, and then we got some preseason questions for the NFL that I'm going to ask Parker, and Parker is going to give me the definitive lockdown answer to what's happening this NFL season. By the way, which starts Thursday. It's a week from today. Yeah, it's literally a week from today. I know. It seems like it wasn't here, and now it's here.
And everyone thought it was going to get canceled.
I still do. I'm
ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong. I still think it'll be canceled.
The Broncos have sent me emails asking if I want to donate money and get a cardboard cutout at the season opener.
Do you?
If I can get it in the front row. Like, the problem with buying the cardboard cutout is I want to see it.
Right.
So if I don't see it, if you're going to stick it up in the nosebleeds, if I only see it briefly on a punt or something like that, then I do not care to have that cutout.
But even if you get 1 second of NBC, Fox airtime, whatever it is, is it not worth it?
Well, so here's the thing. They have like a list of like things like you can't hold up a sign, because I would hold up Lamm Sports Show, and try and see if I can get people to come here. But you can't hold up signs. You can't do any of that stuff. You can get nixed really easily. You don't get your money back because it's donations. So there's a lot of ways that you could not end up out there, or just maybe Billy, who works in marketing, just doesn't want to walk all the way up to that top flight.
Damn
and
Billy.
Cut your cutout out.
The Mets were doing the same thing, the New York Mets, when the season started, and I
remember that, yeah.
I was close. $86 is what that cost, by the way. $86, and you get your cardboard cutout. But I had questions. Number one is, do I get a say into where it's placed? And number two, do I get the cardboard cutout at the end of the year?
I was thinking about that too. Can I get it signed and sent to me afterward? I'd donate like $200 if I can get a bunch of players to sign it and send it back afterward.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be more than $86 to get it signed and sent back. But hey,
and then I started thinking about, like, where am I going to display a picture of myself in the house?
Everywhere. There's no bad spot for that. I feel like. I mean, I'm here in the studio, right? The studio is the perfect place to have a gigantic picture of myself.
Of you, yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's no better. All right. So we're going to move along because we're gonna run out of time. This is gonna be the worst. The Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question. We got cut off last week. In case anybody was listening, we made it to. We were talking about best defensive players in the
Oh
NBA,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then the world went bad somehow, and it was a gigantic technical difficulty. But we're back, and what we didn't get to answer was the trivia question, and I asked it, but we didn't get to the answer. So I'm going to
Okay.
give you that now, the
Okay.
question again and the answer, and then we're going to do this week's trivia question. So last week's trivia question was, which NFL player has played the most NFL seasons without winning a Super Bowl?
Oh
Remember that?
yes,
Yeah, that was a
I
good
remember
question,
this.
and I went deep because I was like, yeah, this is a great question. Super Bowl's coming. Who has never won one, but they played forever? And so, do you have a guess?
So I had two guesses because I believe you said it was an active player.
No, no,
It's not an
no.
active
He's
player.
retired.
He is retired.
Yeah, sorry.
Crap.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Well, because I was gonna say because I didn't know if he was ever on. I was gonna say Frank Gore,
Frank Gore is not a
but I
bad.
don't know if he has one or not.
He's not a bad guess. He's been playing for like 100 years, but
Yeah, and he's played for every team that sucks.
right. So the answer, just to help you out, is a kicker.
It's a kicker.
It's a kicker.
Do I know this kicker?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone knows this kicker.
Everyone knows this kicker.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the NFL's all-time leading scorer.
Ray Finkel.
Well, yeah, Rafe. That's Einhorn. That is not even a thing. So Morton Anderson is the answer.
Morton Anderson.
Morton Anderson.
Yeah, the guy from Salt.
He kicked from 25 seasons, by the way. 13 with the New Orleans Saints, 8 with the Atlanta Falcons, 2 with the Kansas City Chiefs, 1 with the Giants, and 1 with Minnesota. He kicked until he was 47. Right? He retired as
do that.
Yeah, he retired as the NFL's all-time leading scorer with 2,544 points. And just to put that in perspective for people who don't know how many points that is, because at random it just sounds like a lot of points. Right. It is. That would be 424 touchdowns.
Ooh.
So
if you throw 50 touchdowns a season, that's a big season. Now imagine having to do that for quite a few seasons.
Well, eight and a half for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think of a running back who scores 12, 15 a year.
A really good running back.
A really good running back might get 15, 12 to 15.
Yeah.
Right? And so now he's got to do that for 30 years.
Yep, that's a minute.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a lot of points. But he's the all-time leading scorer. So anyway, Morton Anderson is the answer to last week's trivia question, right? And I'm just trying to switch my scene so that everyone can see Morton Anderson because I've got a picture of him in every uniform. And then, so I want to make sure everyone sees that. So that brings us to trivia question number 2, or I guess this week's trivia question. So are you ready for this week's trivia question?
I was born ready.
Okay. Brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Go to staveandstone.com and check out their gift baskets, all new gift baskets with wine and pairings. They got cheese, all kinds of stuff in the gift basket. Just go to staveandstone.com or call them for info, 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Email them at info@staveandstone.com. Stave & Stone, wines with personality. So this week's trivia question. NFL opening day, just 1 week from today. Everyone's going to be looking off to get to that 1-0 start, right? Everyone wants that fast, quick, I'm 1-0.
Start fast.
Here's my question. Which team has the lowest week 1 winning percentage in NFL history?
The lowest
week
1 winning percentage.
Right. Who loses more games week 1 than any other team?
That's I'm gonna go with the team that hasn't been around a long time.
And the bonus question, in case you want it, which team has the highest opening day winning percentage? So 2 questions basically out there. So we'll talk about it at the end of the show, of course. We always do. And right now, we're going to talk about something that was really painful to watch, and that was the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, it was.
We watched them get handled pretty easily by the Lakers. And it was basically all AD, was it not?
Anthony Davis is a machine.
He was really, really good. But Portland doesn't have anything to match up with it. Nurkic doesn't do that. So my question is basically what does Portland need to do in the offseason? What would be, if you're the general manager of Portland right now, what is your first move right now in the offseason? Do you make a move? Is there something you need to get rid of? Somebody you need to bring in? What is it you need to do to make yourself competitive? Because clearly there's a competitive advantage the Lakers have. You're not ready to compete with them, even at full strength almost. Well, Zach Collins was
Right.
out. Yeah, Trevor Ariza was out. You're right. I don't think they would have made a big difference.
Yeah.
So how did they get there?
I think that there's a handful of things that you got to do. I think number one, you got to move on from the Zach Collins experiment. The guy cannot stay healthy. It's an unfortunate reality, but it is the way it is. And when he's on the court, I watched him struggle with layups. He needs increasing degrees of difficulty to be talented. All right. If there's a hand in his face, a dude undercutting his legs, he's going to make it. But if it's wide open, there's a chance he short arms it. It's what's the weirdest thing with him. And I watched up all of these games, and I couldn't believe the things that he missed. But that the health is the bigger issue because you lose that size, you lose that defensive presence. So you got to get rid of him. Number two, you need to focus on re-signing Melo. All right.
Yeah.
And the reason being is Melo he's not exactly offering you a ton, but he's cohesiveness for the team. He's a vet. He's a Hall of Famer that's on your roster. Like, don't let that walk away. All right. Even if he's, not, Melo of 10, 15 years ago, he's still Melo and he still has games where he can still put up 20 points a game. And he's very good at like tapering himself off. He kind of knows when he's not playing well and kind of distributes. And he's still got enough intensity to defend some people. He defended LeBron James pretty damn well in that series. Right. So sign Melo. Then you kind of get into the other issue, which is you've got Hassan for you've got Ariza for another year, so you don't got to worry about him. All right, and he is important. You have Rodney Hood. He's important. Mm-hmm. All right, those are two very big pieces. The thing is Hassan Whiteside, because do you really need Hassan? Is he really providing? Yes, he led the league in blocks, but he's very selective about when he decides to give full effort, and that has always rubbed me the wrong way. I want a guy that's 100% all the time, or at least if he's not giving 100%, he's giving the smartest possible version of himself that's not exerting the most energy. So there are guys that can do that, like Melo. He's playing very smart, even if he can't go full speed. So I think you maybe move on from Hassan. You pair Hassan. Well, he's going to drop into, if you can get rid of him, if you can trade him before the actual end of the contract, you trade him and Zach, and you need to try and get somebody who can take into the power forward role and can kind of. I want a 3-and-D guy. I could care less about mid-range and I could care less about driving ability. All right, I want a guy who can shoot the three and bring big defenders outside. That's what I want more than anything. Because Melo plays power forward, but let's be real, he's a small forward, and he plays like a small forward too. So I want a power forward who can shoot from the outside and can still match up against guys like AD, because that's what we're working against, is guys like AD who can play outside in. AD can finish at the rim, jumper, three-pointer, doesn't matter. So you have to compete with him in size and skill and then speed. That's where you get hosed. I'm thinking a good addition to the team. He kind of negates the three thing, but he plays all of the defense and has all the speed and size, is a Blake Griffin. Would be a great piece to add to us. He's miserable over there in Detroit. He's not doing anything. So I think there's a couple people that you could try and target this offseason. I think maybe you even start thinking about, what can we get for CJ McCollum? Can we get a shooting guard in here who can play defense? Just enough offense to kind of keep you going, but can play defense. Yeah. So there's a lot of things, but I think your number one priority is get rid of Zach Collins, re-sign Melo.
If you got rid of CJ,
right,
and let's be honest, I don't know that you're going to get the same type of scorer back in return. You're not going to get a better player.
You won't.
You're going to get either somebody who's better at something but not as good all around. So either you're going to get, let's say you go after a defender. Right. I feel like a large 2 guard, right? Who has size, who can defend, who's quick, who's long, athletic, score enough, you know what I mean? 10, 12 points, 12 to 15 points, somewhere in that ballpark. Right. That's what you need. You need a guy who's capable of shutting down the other team, because even if he only scores 12 points, if he keeps the other guy from scoring 30 and that guy only scores 15, well, now he scored 27 points basically. You know what I mean? You add those points that he shut down, make him that much more effective. I believe that defense is the way you win, and I don't see that in the NBA. And the NBA just isn't that way right now.
I mean, even the teams that have those big, I mean, and you can say what you want, because the Lakers did score a lot in this series with the Blazers. They scored a lot.
Yeah.
But the way that they won was because they stopped the Blazers.
Yeah, it all comes down
to
who
are a scoring machine. Yeah. So it doesn't, you can score 140, but if you give up 140, it's a last shot game. None of it matters.
Right.
But if you can make 10 or 12 extra stops more than the other team, well, now you win by 12 or 15. And that's a huge margin of victory. So I think there's two guys that I'd really like. One of them is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown would be a fantastic addition. And the other one, also on that team, is Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart is a great defensive player, a good inside player. Same thing with Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen Brown's got the three ball in his game on top of it. And they're both relatively young.
Yeah. I would, and we just watched Marcus Smart tonight.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Which we're going to talk about here in a minute. I feel like they're I love Nurkic. I love him.
Yeah.
But I feel like he is a power forward at best, not a center.
Ooh, you don't think he's a true center? Interesting.
I don't feel like he's he's true center in the fact that he's immobile, but
yes.
Anthony Davis is playing center for the Lakers, and he's mobile. You can't.
Well, Anthony Davis is playing power forward because JaVale McGee was starting at center.
Kinda.
JaVale McGee's immobile. So.
JaVale McGee doesn't do anything for the Lakers. I don't think.
I mean, he gets put back dunks. That's about it.
Right.
That's what happens. But that's what happens when you're 7'12". You know, 7'11".
If Carmelo's trying to guard Anthony Davis, you got a mismatch, no matter what.
Right.
And I don't think Carmelo is the defensive genius that nobody's under the illusion that he's that guy. So
he's not.
You need a big man that can play defense. Not huge, but you need a power forward size. You need a 6'9" guy that is, again, long, athletic, rebounds, plays defense, blocks shots. Hassan Whiteside can block shots, but he is a center. He's a
true center.
Yeah, he is immobile. He stands in the middle. He waits for you to come to him. He blocks a shot every once in a while. Well, 4 a game or something like that. But anyway, I feel like they're missing something. You got to get rid of Whiteside probably. Mm-hmm. I think, and you need to get somebody who's a little more outer edge defensive minded. Someone who can guard someone on the perimeter.
Can play outside in.
Right, and right, because I think that's what you've got to do in the NBA. I think if you can stop teams from shooting the three, right, then you have a chance to win.
Right.
Especially if you're a 3 shooting team like Portland seems to be.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I think. Well, what do I know?
I'll tell you this though. We got Rodney Hood.
Yeah.
And Rodney Hood he can score at the 3 position because he's a small forward.
Right.
He can score. He can shoot the 3 very consistently.
Yeah.
And he plays fantastic defense. I'm not so sure if Trevor Reeves is in the series, if it really changes the dynamic too much, but I think Rodney Hood being in this series changes this dynamic a lot.
Right.
And it really opens up, Portland's ability to score.
And do you think, and this is just me making an observation, do you think that Gary Trent Jr. just made C.J. McCollum trade bait?
He absolutely made him available. Put him. Gary Trent Jr. put C.J. McCollum on the market, and maybe that's somebody we're overlooking in this is that they already have that guy who can score and play defense. Gary Trent Jr. is a pest.
He can. He had a tendency to pick up some fouls, and it
he's young.
Yeah, I
know. He's got some issues.
It's true. Yeah. Anyway, so other NBA action. Let's talk about other things that have happened. And so today. Hang on just a second. Let's not talk about today. Let's talk about... Oh, you know what? Let's just talk about it. The Raptors just beat the Celtics, 104-103. Just finished watching that.
What an ending.
Yeah, they cut the lead in the series to 2-1 in their Eastern Conference semifinal. OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby. I was so focused on Anunoby.
I thought it was just a newbie.
No, there's
another
extra
N in there.
There's another N in there, yeah. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, right. I had to look it up, and I had to go to pronunciation.com to figure it out. He hits the game-winning 3 to save the Raptors season. Basically, they did not look good they were down most of the game. They came back, and then the Celtics went on an 8-0 run and took like a 4-point lead with like 2 minutes left, and then I thought for sure the Celtics had it.
Oh, they looked like they were walking away with it.
Kyle Lowry then makes a couple of fantastic driving to the basket layups, takes the game over, and then he makes that pass to Anunoby, and the rest is history. So
that was off an inbound. So he threw
a
cross court
all
off
the
an
way.
Inbound.
Yep.
If this was a high school coach, he'd come off of his seat.
There was a guy guarding the inbound, except apparently he wasn't. Because
it was a 7-footer too.
Yeah, well, that's what if you listen to the post game, Kyle Lowry in the post game, he said I had a guy on me who was 7'12", and
that's right. That's why I said 7'12" earlier.
And I'm like, yeah, that was, but it was a fantastic pass, a fantastic finish. It was a great game.
I think what's his name, Marc Gasol down low. If you watch when he makes that inbound pass, Brown is trying to cut out, and Marc Gasol kind of slides a little bit. Maybe keeps him from getting there a half second.
Yeah, and I didn't think Jason Tatum was as effective down the stretch as he needed to be for Boston.
He missed a couple big ones when that game was tight.
Yeah. But that's going to be a tight series, I think. I think that had Boston won, it would have been a sweep. But now,
I don't know. I still think the Raptors still have to win one more in a row. They have to win this next one,
right? Well,
to think about winning the series. They're definitely a one game at a time mentality right now.
Right, and I don't know that they have to win the next one, but I mean, it definitely wouldn't hurt.
You're asking somebody to come back from 3-1. At very least, there's doubt in your head because it's only happened once before.
Right.
So,
but anyway,
so that's why 2-2 feels good. So even if you lose the next game, you're down 3-2. Okay, we can still do this.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so that was earlier, and it was a fantastic finish. Right now, let me look because I'm looking at the score. Right now, the Clippers are dismantling the Nuggets, 67-51. It's almost halftime. That game is on TNT if you want to watch it. It looks like. Hold on a second. I'm pulling up statistics just to make sure. So it looks like Kawhi Leonard with 19 right now, and Paul George has 10. So they're doing what they do, and the Nuggets, Jokic has 11, Jamal Murray has 10. It's definitely a shooting issue for 3-point issue anyway. They're shooting 33%. The Nuggets are, and that's a 3-point team. They live and die by that. But the Clippers are shooting 50% from 3-point range, 7 of 14, 65% overall field goal percentage for the game, and that's why they're winning. So, I would have said the Clippers were. And it's funny because the standings they're three games different in the standings,
right?
And I feel like the Clippers are so much better than the Nuggets that it's not funny.
That's because the Nuggets are spurred by two people. Jokic and Murray. And I do not think that Murray has had a lot of trouble with defenses because there hasn't been a true great defender playing against him. But now so if he's playing the 1, he's being guarded by Pat Beverly. If he's playing the 2, he's being guarded by Kawhi Leonard.
Paul George.
Or the 3 is Kawhi Leonard, or 2 is the Paul George. Interchangeable.
Yeah, either way.
You're not in a good spot anymore.
It's a different level.
This isn't defense. Donovan Mitchell or whoever the 2 is there. I can't actually remember with the Jazz, but yeah, you're not going to score 50 again.
Right. And
sorry,
you're right. Yeah. So that's probably going to. I mean, I would predict that was a 5-game series going to the Clippers. That would just be how I would predict that. I think that
you would not surprise me if it's a sweep.
Kawhi Leonard is that good and has that much experience in playoff. I mean, he just won the title last year. Right. So, yeah, I feel like he's that guy, and no matter what. He's 8 of 11 from the floor. In 19 minutes, he's got 19 points.
Well, and dudes like that are, man, they're the scariest types of basketball players. Right. Kawhi Leonard is a quiet. He's not that quiet. You watch him talk on the court, but he's overall, comparatively, he's a quiet player with extremely high talent and extremely high IQ. He is always thinking about how to beat you, and he makes everybody on his team that much better. Those dudes terrify me.
And he's got, in addition to the 19 points, he's got 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. So
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. It's almost
come
halftime.
on, pick it up.
Well, You know what? He hasn't had to, and now it's 69-51. Anyway, let's move along. So, yeah, and I knew the Clippers were going to win. I feel it.
The only thing that would have saved the Nuggets is if Paul George was still struggling, like he was in those first 3 or 4 games. But then Paul George figured it out, turned it on, and now you're toast.
Right. So yesterday, let's talk about yesterday. The Rockets beat the Thunder in Game 7, 104-102, in another exciting game. That was a close game. It was tense. It was down to the last second. James Harden blocked Lou Dort's three-point attempt with 4.8 seconds left to play. And the Rockets basically hung on despite Harden committing a foul on Danilo Gallinari with 1.4 seconds left. Gallinari misses the free throw and then basically threw away the inbound pass, and Houston stole it.
Right.
So they escaped, let's say, with a defensive play by an offensive player, and then he commits a terrible foul. And anyway, but still,
that game was trash.
The Rockets move along. And those two teams have the exact same record. They were identical teams. That's why this went 7. That's why it went down to the last second. That's why I don't think there's a distinction between those two teams, Oklahoma City and Houston. To me, I can't feel like that one of them's better than the other. When Houston is operating on full, hitting on all cylinders, Harden and Westbrook, I think they're really, really hard to beat. But it's rare that they're both. Russell Westbrook, to me, is one of those guys. Harden had a bad night. He's 4 of 15 shooting, 17 points. But he was 8 of 9 from the free throw line. He had 9 assists, 3 block shots. He did what he needed to do. Russell Westbrook is one of those guys that if he's not scoring, why is he out there? Right?
Yeah, well, he plays good defense.
Okay.
He doesn't get a lot of blocks and he doesn't get a lot of steals, but he plays tight one-on-one defense, which has value. You put him on somebody, and he can switch between 4 through 1 pretty easily because he's big. So I get why he's out there, even though he's not scoring, because he provides you with a sense of some sense of defense. Also, he's a superstar. He elevates the other people on your team. Blah 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 blah.
Okay, sure.
Say what you want, but the bottom line is that the Thunder won that game. The referees stole it from them.
Okay. They had a chance to win. They still had a chance to win at the end.
When the Rockets committed the foul on the inbound play, that they then waved off for the timeout. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They waved it off and said, "Oh, the timeout was called simultaneously, so we're going with the timeout and not the foul."
Right.
What?
I know. Yeah.
And then they wouldn't go back and look at it.
And
they're sitting there saying, "Review it." Go back, and they're like, "No, we're good."
And Lou Dort had 30.
Yeah, and still got blocked for the game winner. It doesn't matter.
And it does. Yeah, it's irrelevant now. He had a series where he had like 9 points, 6 points, 10 points, 30. And I'm like, okay, so wow, all of a sudden he put 30 in 35 minutes, and he needed it. They needed every bit of that, Oklahoma City did, and they still couldn't.
And they were talking about him all the bubble playoffs and things like that. They've been talking about him, saying that he's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Everyone watch out for him. He finally went off, but man, it rubs me the wrong way when things happen that the officials won't even look at.
Sure.
Go back and just look, see if he was throwing up the T hand before the foul. And if that happened, great. Then we all agree. And if it didn't happen, then correct yourself and call the foul like you did on the court.
Yeah.
The same guy who called the foul was the guy who then waved it off to call timeout. And he called the foul first and then waved it off and got timeout.
Yeah.
It's a travesty. Go look at it. You have cameras. We have thousands of cameras. There's millions of dollars invested in this experience. Why are we not taking the time to make sure we get it right?
And I laugh at you because I know you're basically anti-referee. And
not anti-referee. I have a high standard for them, and no one lives up to it.
You're right. They never do, and they never will.
And they don't have to pay when they don't.
But I don't know why you have such a high standard. I am of the belief that the humanity of the game rests in the fact that the referees are dumb and they're going to make a bad call or two in the game, and you're going to go, what? And that's what makes the game exciting to watch. Otherwise, I don't want the referees deciding the game necessarily every game in that they call every damn foul, but I want them to call the fouls when they're clear and you can see it. Excuse me. I feel like there's a line, and I feel like the referees they're always on the other side of that line to me. They're always on that, I'm going to call the foul, even when it's really not a foul, until it's really important. And when it's really important, and this is the game is tied and someone goes in for a layup, I'm going to make this a no call. But you called it a foul all game long.
Right.
Why is it a no call now? That's what bothers me more than anything about referees. I don't understand the swallowing of the whistle. I don't want to be the guy that decides the game. You already did. Somewhere in the game, you made a call that has decided the outcome.
Call, you decided the game.
Right. Or if you don't make the call, exactly, it's the same way. You're still deciding.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because I want them to be penalized effectively for their poor performances. I want referees to be punished.
I hear
that. They talk about call efficiency. That's how you get a playoff refereeing spot. Your team has to have X amount of call efficiency in order to get that spot. But it's still really frustrating because of those moments when they don't call something. Or here's a big one. Do you ever see this one? Somebody commits a foul and the ball goes out of bounds, and it was clearly off the team that got fouled. So they just award them the ball. They don't call the foul. They just award them the ball. Right. Because why go through the whole process? Why sign them?
I think I hold up fingers and everything.
Yeah, and then the team challenges it. So now that team just gets screwed.
Right, basically.
Because it did go off. Didn't call the foul. You knew it didn't, but you didn't call the foul because you wanted to pace the play. The guy in your ear from up top, he was yelling at you.
And I will tell you, part of what bothers me about that is the replay. Just in general, I don't like replay in any sport. I'm not a fan of it. I just don't like it. And
I'm on board with getting rid of it as long as you punish the refs.
And well, that's the thing. So
I want public statements of apology from referees and this calls.
You're not gonna get that, but okay. But the
high standards.
The replay bothers me in that you have all leagues, NFL, NBA, MLB, you're half-assing the replay. Why are we can use it for this, but that's not reviewable. That part's not reviewable.
That was that thing last night. They couldn't review it because the timeout was called first.
Either it is, or you make it all reviewable. Everything's reviewable, or it's not. But don't do it to where we have to stop play every 6 seconds to do a review. Make it so that it has to be challenged. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So give the coaches 3 challenges. Right? Half, let's say, or through the game, whatever, however you want to do it.
It would probably still be less reviews than
correct. And otherwise, we don't review it. It's just not reviewable. The call on the court is the call on the court, and I'm okay with, especially with baseball, I'm okay with mistakes. I'm okay with that being a thing. It happens in every sport. There's bang plays. Things happen so quickly you can't hardly see. You're at the wrong spot, even though you're trying to be in the right position as a referee, as an official. You're trying to be right there where it's supposed to be, but you're not always in the right place to see it. You get shielded off by the turn of the players, or you know what I mean? There's something that you can't see. That's why there's more than one of them out there.
Baseball is the only one that has that argument, though, because people are throwing the ball between bases at 50 miles an hour. A second baseman can throw the ball to first base at 40 miles an hour. Nobody is shooting a basketball at 40 miles an hour.
It's probably closer to 70.
It's probably closer to 70. Yes, absolutely. So, yes, I pardon your eyes a little bit.
Right.
When you can't quite see if the ball got there or the foot got there because your eyes are not cross-eyed. You can't see them both.
And you have to watch the ball go into the glove.
Right, and then look
at the
feet.
And see the feet hit the base and know whether if it disappears because the glove is in an awkward position and you can't see the ball, or did he actually
and the players know that
it?
too.
Right.
The players will hold their gloves in such a way to obstruct things. They know that.
We got off topic.
My point is that sagging referee calls, the referees not doing well, allows a breeding ground for players to do improper things. James Harden traveled for 4 years.
Well, he travels every time he touches the
ball. He still
so.
travels a lot. And that became because at some point referees started relaxing about it.
And I will tell you that about 75% of the step back 3-pointers are travels.
All travel. Yeah. An extra little shuffle in there, yeah.
Sometimes the actual ball is still bouncing. It's coming up in the air and they step back and grab it as they come back. That's okay. But most of the time they grab it and step back. That's a travel.
I will never fault the players for operating within the crazy leniency that referees give them. And that's why I hold the referees to a higher standard, because I need you to, what is that movie, Knocked Up, where he's like, just tighten it up. I need you to tighten it up. Just make it tighter. That's what I need from basketball, because if it's tighter, the players will tighten up their games. They will adjust to the play calling. It shouldn't be the other way around. You shouldn't adjust your play calling to the players.
Right. Sure. So, okay. So, also, other NBA action. Now that we've gone off on a little tangent, um, the Miami Heat went up 2-0 on the Milwaukee Bucks with a 116-114 victory yesterday. The number one seed Milwaukee Bucks and the reigning MVP Giannis. Do we think? Okay, so it was Jimmy Butler hitting the game winner. I still he's a terrible jump shooter and he makes some bad decisions. He threw a ball away in a bad spot. Jimmy Butler is a really good player. Let's put it that way. Not a great player. He's not a good player. He's a really good player. He makes some bad mistakes. He's a terrible jump shooter. It just feels like at times that he knows what he's doing. He scored 13 points in this game. He was the lowest scorer of the starters for the Heat. But all 5 Heat starters scored at least 13 points in this game.
Right.
So and Goran Dragic 23, 16 from Crowder. They had 17 off the bench by Hero. He kind of helped out. I mean, they were. Giannis scored 29, 14 rebounds.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a good game. It wasn't good enough, and it seems like he didn't come through in the clutch like he needed to. But I don't, you can't always come through in the clutch. There's not, nobody does that 100% of the time. Anyway, long story short, Heat's up 2-0. Is that surprising to you?
It is and it isn't. The fact that the Bucks have kind of relaxed a little bit. I think they got to that first round and were kind of and this is what they're experiencing from that. However, there was some interesting play calling all throughout this game, and at the end of the day, it still came down to a last second bucket. That means the game is essentially a wash.
Did you see the fouls? The 2 fouls called that were maybe not fouls?
Probably were not fouls.
I mean, Giannis.
There's some weak stuff going on.
Giannis touched Jimmy Butler. I'm going to tell you that he did touch him.
Yeah.
But did he foul him?
We need to officially rebrand it as a contact league.
Right. And
the fact that it's supposed to be a non-contact sport, is a ridiculous notion.
But that almost seemed like a makeup call.
It absolutely did.
Yeah, for the one earlier. And anyway. Yeah. So long story short, Bucks are in a hole, 2-0. Are they good enough to climb back out? They probably are. Are the Heat good enough to win Game 3 and pretty much put a stranglehold on this? That's my question, because that's coming up tomorrow.
I think the Bucks are good enough to take Game 3 and kind of chill out everyone who's on, chill out Twitter who's on fire about this whole thing, because it doesn't. I'm never stressing it. They've got so much talent. They've got a lot of pieces. The Heat is playing really good. They're playing out of their mind. They're riding this wave of Jimmy Butler beating TJ Warren from the first round. Waves eventually crash. It's just how it works. So you can ride it as long as you can, but I think the Bucks have too much talent, and Giannis is too good. I think after that game, that kind of, the first game, they didn't play very well.
Right.
And they got beat pretty soundly.
Yeah.
The second game came down to a last-minute buzzer beater. Oh,
say it again.
And if it continues at this rate, the next game should be a buzzer beater the other way, and then the next game should be a dominant win by the Bucks. So at this rate that we're trending, we're going to steer back towards the Bucks, which I think they're going to be fine. I think this series is going to go 7 games, and I think the Bucks are going to win it.
This is by the way 6 straight playoff wins for the Heat. They swept the Pacers. And then 2 against the Bucks. So
it was the Pacers.
They're clearly on fire. They lost 4 out of the last 5 seeding games. So to include 1 against the Bucks,
it'll come back around. It's a game of runs.
Hey, we'll see. So NBA Rookie of the Year was announced yesterday, and Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies is the Rookie of the Year. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I don't know who else you give it to.
So
he's not a winner by default. That's made it sound like that. That's not what I meant. But you don't give it to Zion.
No. So he won 99 out of a possible 100 first place votes.
He was fantastic, and he took his team all the way to the brink of being in the playoffs.
So you know who finished second?
Who's that?
Kendrick Nunn of the Miami Heat.
Zion wasn't even number. Was Zion 3?
Zion was 3. But none had
Shame on whatever person voted for Zion.
but none had more than double the amount of points that Zion had. So um, I agree wholeheartedly. John Morant, I watched him. He 17.6 points and 6.9 assists per game. Shot about 49% from the field. He was good. I mean, he was good all year. And I think what you saw in Zion, definitely the injury issues hurt him.
Yeah.
But you and I talked about Zion before, and he's a spot player. Let's call him that. This is a big moment. I'm going to make a gigantic play, and I'm going to expend all of my energy so that I got to waste the next 3 series up and down the floor recuperating from it.
And to be fair, that's something impressive. To be that great when the lights are very bright, that's an impressive thing to do. But it's not consistency. It's almost an illusion.
Yeah, you see it. You see him be this, make a fantastic play that you're like, wow, the athleticism, it's great. He's huge. He's big. He's strong. He's crazy good. And then nothing for 2 or 3 minutes on the floor.
He came in that first game this season. The very first game he played, he hit like 5 threes.
Yeah,
and had like 4 dunks.
Yeah.
The second game, crickets.
Yeah, not so much.
It's crickets. And then 2 or 3 games later, they played the Lakers. And he had a big game. And then crickets. That's kind of his MO is he sags off at appropriate times.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we're all in agreement. I think John Morant was a great pick. John Morant out of Murray State.
Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Murray State, Kentucky. They're in the same conference with Austin Peay. Yeah, right. So that's the Ohio Valley Conference, by the way.
Go P.
In case anybody wants to know. Let's talk about the Timbers for a minute.
Okay.
The Timbers won the MLS's back cup, right? They won the first and maybe only MLS's back tournament in Orlando, and since then, maybe a little disappointing. They lost to Seattle 3-0. They settled for a tie against Real Salt Lake 4-4 after leading 4-2 heading into the 90th minute. They gave up 2 goals late. In one in the 90th minute, one in the 95th minute. So in stoppage time to tie the game. And then they lost to the LA Galaxy 3-2. So they're 0-2-1 since winning this thing. Now, silver lining, they're in 4th place, 1 point behind LAFC in 3rd in the Western Conference. And it's still, I think, relatively early because I really don't know how many games are planned this year.
Right.
But there are 4 teams tied with 11 points in the standings from the Western Conference. So they're only 2 points out of being in 8th place and out of the playoffs. Anyway, it's a mess. It's a jumble. And, of course, when you have a short season, there's a lot of teams vying for a playoff spot. So it'll be interesting to see. Sporting Kansas City leads the Western Conference with 17 points. Seattle's second with 15. LAFC is third. In the Eastern Conference, it's the Columbus Crew with 20. Toronto FC has 18, and Orlando City and Philadelphia tied with 15. Right. So there's a lot of soccer left to be played, and the Timbers are traditionally one of those teams that gets better as the season goes along. But if the season is short, how much better can they get? Is the question I have, and I'm concerned that they are having some issues.
They're definitely having some issues, and I think that they're experiencing a little hangover from all soccer all the time. They're all back home now. They're in their own homes. They're going. They're actually having to drive to the stadium again. Ugh. Portland traffic puts everyone in a bad mood. I tell you, it gets you off your game. Through all the protesters on those 2 streets in downtown Portland.
Right, both
just
streets.
Drive another way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think that they're just experiencing a little bit of a hangover. I think that they don't have very many games left. I think their schedule only goes up to like late September. Like that's it. I've only got like 4 more games left or 5 more games left.
Gotcha.
And then you start cup play and things like that because I guess they did part of their season earlier this year.
Yeah.
Then broke and then came back for the little tournament. And that all counts, and then you're into here. But yeah, I think they'll right their ship eventually.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. It would be nice to be able to watch them in person, but what do I know? So let's talk about WNBA for just a minute, and the New York Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu. So Sabrina she won't need surgery. For her grade 3 left ankle sprain. She suffered it in late July. the Liberty basically said she received a positive prognosis for a full recovery after being evaluated by physicians.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so she rolled her ankle against the Atlanta Dream on July 31st, and she hasn't played since. She's not going to play the rest of this year, obviously. The Liberty has struggled since. They're 2-14 this year. Right. Part of that's you knew they're going to struggle a little bit. They had a bunch of rookies. They're a young team. They're trying to put together something, but they have 6 games left, so they're basically done. But in the Eastern Conference, here's the funny thing. They got 6 games left. They're only 5.5 games out of second place in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Eastern Conference in the WNBA is terrible. The top 4 teams record-wise are in the West, and then 5 out of the top 6 have winning records. Only 1 team in the East has a winning record, and that I'm like, this reminds me of the old NBA. Like 3 years. Let's back up 3 or 4 years. And the NBA was the exact same way. Everybody in the West was good. Everybody in the East was meh. And yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to her return. I'm hoping that she gets to come back next year. Just take the year off and recoup and be healthy. And we hope that she gets there because she's going to be a star in that league if she gets a chance to play. You saw it in the one full game. Her first game was but her second game was fantastic. Fantastic. She's going to be a star in that league. Anyway, we're hoping that.
Yeah,
happens,
she's rehabbing right now with the Bryant family. Did you see that?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And so their season concludes on September the 12th, by the way, the WNBA, and they'll start the playoffs. KBO. Because why?
KBO.
Why KBO? Because we're committed to the Korean Baseball Organization.
No one else is talking about.
Right. I mean, come on, people. You guys, you need to get on board. The NC Dinos still lead the league. Their lead over the Kiwoom Heroes is down to 1/2 of a game. Remember back, we thought they were like unbeatable.
They were running away with this league.
Yeah, they were scoring like 12 runs a game, or I don't know what it was. It was awful. And so now Kiwoom has made a game of it. They have played. By the way, Kiwoom has played 9 more games than NC at this point, which is kind of weird to me. I don't know how that gets off schedule, off track like that, but 9 more games. They have 4 more wins than the Dinos, but 5 more losses. That's why they're half a game back. But they are the hottest team since mid-July in the KBO, the Kiwoom Heroes. So keep your eye on it.
You just keep qualifying. They're the hottest team since mid-July in the KBO. Qualifying it more and more
on Thursday nights.
On Thursday nights,
on
no
artificial
one
turf. I mean, that's baseball in a nutshell. Every statistic is like that, right? I mean, he's the hottest hitter right now on Tuesday nights on artificial turf against left-handed pitchers in night games. He is hitting 470. You're like, well, how many at-bats is that? Well, 4. I mean, but okay. Anyway, that's baseball.
There's only one stat that matters in baseball, though. What is it?
Wins, by the way, is the right answer.
Okay, this is not a Fast and Furious type question. Winning is not everything.
Wins.
There's one big metric that matters. In baseball. What
home
is it?
runs?
Do they get on base?
Oh, whatever.
On base percentage. It's Moneyball taught me that.
I don't think so. I don't think that's it's good. The more they get on base, the more chance they have to score. You're absolutely right. But I'm a firm believer that an ERA is a good indication of a great player. So the pitchers, I think great pitching beats great hitting all the time, but I may be wrong.
Did you ever watch Moneyball?
I did. I watched Moneyball. And,
that scene is probably my favorite scene where he's talking in front of all the scouts and he keeps saying, but he gets on base. He's like, why are we even looking at this? He points at him because he gets on base.
So let's talk a little bit, since we're on baseball, let's talk a little bit about MLB. And that's where we should be. So currently, AL East leader is the Tampa Bay Rays. They have a 4.5 game lead over the Yankees, 5.5 over the Blue Jays. AL Central, the Indians, the White Sox, and the Twins seem to be just kind of trading places.
Yeah, just floating around.
Yeah, the Indians currently lead 1 game over the White Sox, 1.5 over the Twins, but they kind of don't know who wants to be in first place because the Twins were in first place a week ago. Now it's the Indians. Could be the White Sox. We don't know. Athletics have a 2-game lead over the Astros. Those are the only 2 teams really involved in the AL West. The Mariners are 8.5 back. And we're talking about teams that have played 36, 37 games. So we're over halfway. This would be the All-Star break if they're going to have one. Yeah. Would be right about now. And it's sad to be 11. The Angels are 11 and a half out. The Red Sox are 13 and a half out of first place in their division. Those teams are mathematically still in it, but realistically, they're eliminated.
You don't feel like they're in it.
Yeah, there's no way that they're going to win anything or get into the playoffs at this point. So you need to be in one of those divisions. So in the National League, the Braves lead the NL East, 2.5 game lead over the Phillies. The Cubs lead the NL Central. They're 3.5 games over the Cardinals. And then the Dodgers have a 5-game lead over the Padres. Dodgers have the best record in baseball at 28-10. And currently 8-2. They're the second hottest team. The Phillies are 9-1 in the last 10 games. So the Phillies literally started out 9-14, and they're now 18-15. So they have made a gigantic surge up to be in playoff contention. If the playoffs were to start today, they would be in. So, but this is all going to be interesting because the Phillies, the Marlins have played 32 games. Okay. The Braves have played 36. The Cubs have played 37. The Cardinals have played 28. How is this going to finish if all the teams haven't played the same amount of games? How do you have to go by winning percentage?
Well, are there games tacked onto the Cardinals' back end right now?
Well, they are still trying to make up. They have double headers scheduled for the games that they missed.
So by the end of the season, this could all not be
in theory
a matter.
Right, yeah. In theory, unless someone else tests positive, and then you've got no more time. They are literally out of time to make up games for like the Cardinals.
It's all jammed up.
Yeah, if somebody were to test positive on a team they played, and they had to postpone games, there would be no way. There's no way they can play the full amount of games. Right now, they have literally jammed their schedule all the way to the end of the season to get all 60 games in. I'm not 100% sure it's going to happen, but maybe. So, but you got to play those 7-inning doubleheaders now in MLB, which, come on, that's high school baseball. I'm not a big fan of the way the MLB went about this. The NBA has done a fantastic job. I'll give them
turned out better than we all thought it was going to.
Absolutely. And
remember we were doing this show and you're like, there's no way anybody tested positive. And here we are a week into the playoffs or a series in the playoffs and still nobody. Right. It's incredible.
But they bubbled it right. You know what I mean? The MLS did the same thing for the tournament. They bubbled people and it worked. But nobody else is doing that. These teams are going from town to town, flying on planes, and So now, which we're gonna talk about it here in the second half of the show, but now it's going to lead into football season, which is trying to do the same thing that Major League Baseball has done, only with much bigger rosters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so who wins the National League? If you're going to pick a team right now, who's going to win this National League?
If I have to pick a team right now.
Yeah, one team. Give me the National League champion.
This is the problem with baseball.
I know.
Is that it's just. I mean, can you really go away from the Dodgers?
No.
I don't think
I would tell you the Dodgers are the best team in the National League.
Yeah, they're just playing out of their minds. I mean, it sucks that they didn't start all that hot at first, but they picked up fast. They got way better, and they are fixing their deficits as the season goes on, which is exactly what you want from a team.
Sure.
Figure out what your problems are early so that way you can correct it as you get towards the end. They're doing all that stuff.
So the Rays have the best record in the American League. Would you pick them to win the American League at this point? I mean, they have a 4.5 game lead. That's a pretty substantial lead when you're talking about the Rays have played 38, so there's 22 games remaining. A 4.5 game lead is pretty big.
The problem is that I don't trust most of the teams that are at the top of the American League. I don't trust the Rays.
Right.
I don't trust the A's, and I don't trust the White Sox, which of the top 5 means you only leave Cleveland and Houston as proven winners. And God, I don't want to say Houston. So I think Cleveland is going to win. Houston is going to win the American League.
Needs to be more punished. You think?
I don't. Gosh, the only thing that could really help is if they all catch COVID. Like or something.
Whoa! But we don't wish that on anybody.
I'm not wishing upon it. I'm just saying it would be justice. Every bit of. Right. There's some karma heading their way, and man, it's not going to be good when it gets there.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So pick a team. Pick an American League team.
Cleveland.
Okay. So
Cleveland's got great pitching. They got decent hitting.
So if Cleveland and Dodgers go to the World Series, who wins that?
Dodgers.
Okay.
The Dodgers should have won a World Series recently if it wasn't for some cheaters.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think the Dodgers is probably the best team in baseball.
They're playing out of their minds. I like
And,
the way.
and for all we know, they're cheating too. So I, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying.
That's
Uh,
right.
all right. So second half of the show is brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Go to bosskittyshop.com for your yarns, notions, Boss Kitty merchandise, which I think they have back up again, by the way. And you can pick up a bosskittyshop.com gift card. Use the code Wear Your Mask at checkout and receive the free U.S. domestic shipping orders of $50 or more. Tune in to bosskittylive.com 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday and 11 a.m. every other Sunday for nerdy yarn craft, games, giveaways, and more. That's Boss Kitty. Yarn so boss you'll knit your pants. So, second half of the show, we're going to talk about a couple other things. We're talking about football because that's what we do.
Let's go football.
Let's go football.
Football.
First things first, the University of Iowa, in a statement to the athletic community, University President Bruce Harold and Athletics Director Gary Barta announced that the school will be discontinuing men's gymnastics, men's and women's swimming and diving, and the men's tennis sports programs at the end of the 2020-2021 academic year. So they joined Stanford from the Pac-12, and then basically they cited a lack of revenue and funding to continue select sports. Iowa is projecting lost revenue of $100 million this year and an overall deficit of $65 to $75 million because they're not playing football.
Hey, football makes the world go round.
It does. So, I mean, those are two pretty large schools, Iowa. I mean, the programs they're talking about, while most of the sports community is going to go, right? I mean, let's be honest. You're going to say gymnastics and swimming and diving, But to those athletes, these are Olympic athletes. These are people that are trying for, doing what they do. They've been swimming their whole lives. They chose this school. It's close to home, or they have the right degree program, and they have a chance to get a scholarship. They go swim for this school, and they have a chance to maybe get better and become an Olympic athlete, right? But now that the school is basically saying, no, we're not doing that because we don't have enough money. How? I mean, fair is not the right term. How do you determine which programs you cut? I mean, because if it's by the uniform allowance, clearly the swim team doesn't have that much.
Those goggles, though.
It's not like they're costing you a fortune in uniforms.
Are expensive. Have you ever looked on like Dick's Sporting Goods website and tried to see how much a pair of swim race goggles are? They're like $200.
Sure,
per person.
And I'm sure those aren't even the good ones. They're probably not even the ones that are come straight from the company.
No. And those neoprene caps that they wear.
Made. Yeah. But I feel like like the men's tennis team. I come on. You cut the men's tennis team. Do they have a women's tennis team? I didn't even look that up, to be honest with you. But
they probably do.
But so I'm sure that some of this is Title IX related. In that,
absolutely.
Which programs you're cutting, which ones you're not, because you can't cut this one because you don't have this for females, or you don't have, whatever. But I feel like it's. I get that you're running out of money, and I get that it's because there's no football. It just seems to me like, when you cut these, and let's say next year football comes back and we play football and everything's hunky-dory, are you going to reinstate them?
Possibly. I mean, they brought baseball back at Oregon, after 10 years off or whatever.
It took a long time.
I mean, it wasn't that long. But they brought it back. They can bring these things back later. But the fact of the matter is, and I've worked in an athletic department, and I've watched volleyball games where we're paying refs a couple $100 a ref, and we've got 5 fans. And 3 of them are students who watch for free. So 2 people bought tickets to a game. But so when and then you're lighting, and then you have the court, and then you have all the materials, and you have everything. That one game puts you so far back that it just doesn't work. Football supports so much because they make so much. Because you can go, like where I worked at Portland State, because you can go to an Oregon and grab a quick $500,000 paycheck to get your ass beat for a game. And you come back. And then you can say, all right, well, football is going to keep $200,000 because they have 115 rostered players. But the other $300,000 is going to be dispersed amongst track and field, which no one goes to watch. Volleyball, which not that many people go to watch. Women's basketball, which is way more than either of those two, but still not a lot. And then men's basketball, which at that school still couldn't fill up a 3,000-seat arena. So they support all of these other programs. So it's an unfortunate reality, and you're absolutely right. There's a Title IX aspect to this. You have to have as many scholarships for women as you do for men. And when you have a men's team that has 115 athletes on it with 90 scholarships, that eats into all the other men's sports. When they're thinking about cutting, other men's sports have to go first because you can't cut women's sports, because they'll drop those below the roster line too fast. So yeah, it's tough, but they'll bring them back. Okay. These things aren't gone forever. If things get back to normal, if they start playing some more it might not be next year because next year they're going to have to play those non-conference games, but they probably already have the facilities. They probably already have the pools and stuff like that. But yeah, they're not paying a pool guy for the next year. That saves a lot of money. You're not, how much it costs to shock a pool? It's expensive. So.
Yeah, I really don't.
I guess, and it's a very understood thing at universities and athletic departments that, hey, and the athletes don't always get it, but the coaches do. The staff gets it. Football brings home the bacon.
Right.
So we have to deal when football wants the field. We got to get the hell off it, because if we don't, they're going to be bad. If they're bad, they don't make money. If they don't make money, we don't have money.
All right. So let's talk about college football in general.
Yeah.
So college football is back, kind of, and that first game we saw, Austin Peay and Central Arkansas.
Nail biter.
It was a good game. Central Arkansas beat Austin Peay 24-17. Scored on a 10-yard touchdown pass with 34 seconds left. Austin Peay scored on the very first play from scrimmage. The very first play of this college football season from scrimmage was a touchdown, 75-yard touchdown.
Incredible.
Yeah, he only ran for 98 yards the whole game. He's 75 up more than that first touchdown.
Or one play.
Yeah. So I mean,
his yards per carry looked fantastic.
Hold your applause. But so we got some upcoming football games on the schedule for Saturday. So Middle Tennessee and Army, SMU, Texas State. Let's see. Okay, those are the big headliners.
If that's the highlight.
Memphis plays Arkansas State. But on Monday, on Labor Day, BYU and Navy. That's the first big game of the year, if you want to call it that, of major programs, and even that's questionable when you're talking about Navy. So you got, we got a few games on Saturday and then Monday, and then next week, Thursday, UAB Miami, and then Friday starts it's SMU TCU, and then the next Saturday games, which there's some of, that's when most of the teams start their conference games. Those conferences that have decided to play conference only, Duke, Notre Dame, Syracuse, UNC. Those games are happening. Florida State, Georgia Tech, that kind of thing. But there are still teams playing non-conference games, which I don't quite understand. All the, I don't off the top of my head, I can't tell you every conference and what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do in terms of their conference games versus their non-conference games. But there's no gigantic game on this football schedule until I'm looking on the schedule now. Okay, Virginia Tech on the 19th. Miami and Louisville also play on the 19th.
Oh yeah, that actually looked really good. I remember seeing the hype, they did a hype video for it. It was really good.
Right. Southern Florida, Notre Dame. Okay. So these are all games through the 19th. Even through then, Clemson's playing the Citadel on the 19th. I mean, come on.
Well, they've adopted that Alabama mentality.
Clearly. And then you get to it's week 4. It's that weekend of the 24th, 25th, 26th. That's when you start to see the real games are coming about. Florida State, Miami.
Right.
You've got, let's see, I don't know. We've got, not great. I thought it was going to be better than this. It's not that.
Not good.
West Virginia, Oklahoma State.
You're just getting into all conference stuff, which is exciting, but it doesn't have the big appeal because not all the teams are involved,
and because the SEC hasn't started yet. And everybody keeps pushing games back because of positive COVID tests. And so I guess that's my question is, if we're going to keep pushing starting dates back, how likely are we to see any of these teams playing a full conference schedule? They say they're going to play 10 games. Are they going to? Is it going to happen? Because right now you got teams still saying, oh, well, our original opening date was the 12th, but we pushed it back to the 26th because we had positive tests. Well, if you're already postponing shit 2 weeks, sorry, then what do we do? What happens on the 26th when you have a problem? Is it still going to be an issue? Are we going to play football? Is my question.
These conferences that have decided to play they've made up their mind. This is going to happen despite COVID or in spite of COVID, whatever. This is going to happen. And the problem is that it's going to take something important happening. It's going to take Trevor Lawrence catching COVID on Friday before the game, before the ACC starts going, oh, okay, this isn't good. We got to be careful because now once a superstar's out, does that loss come with an asterisk? Like that sort of stuff. Like that's what's going to have to happen for people to come around. Otherwise, no, they're going to hard charge through positive tests, through issues, through concerns. They're just going to ram right through all that stuff and straight into their season. Somebody important needs to Nick Saban needs to come down with COVID before the SEC goes, maybe this isn't great. Well, that's just unfortunately how it's going to have to be. If that never happens, then they're going to play their 10-game season without any issues, just constantly replacing, key no-name players. And if you're a star player, if you're Trevor Lawrence, you're not going out right now. You're not going to parties. Right. You're not doing these things because you don't want to catch it. Well, right? That's just kind of how it is.
Do you think Dabo Swinney is sitting on him, literally?
Probably. He's probably sitting on all of his stars saying, you guys are staying in my house.
Yeah, my house. That's
upstairs.
Right. That's right.
Classes are online, so you have no reason to be on campus unless you're with me at practice.
I'm not letting you out of my sight.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no way you're going to catch this crap. Yeah, there's going to be coaches like that. But I think that they've all kind of made their bed, and no matter how uncomfortable it may be, they're going to sleep in it.
Does a college football playoff, if it happens this year, does it mean anything?
No, it doesn't.
But they're still going to
subtracting so many great. Oh, absolutely. Alabama's going to have their whatever title.
Right.
Clemson's going to have their whatever title.
Right.
But here's my question: when they have another set of conferences that start in the spring,
right?
Do we get a different champion?
Right. You should.
Can Oregon claim a 2021 champion?
I think it's okay. Here's my personal thought: the Big Ten and Pac-12 postpone till the spring, and they play. Right. Let the other guys play in the fall. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 play, and then the champions of each conference play each other in the Rose Bowl like they would normally, right?
Ooh, and we'll call overlapping the two seasons,
and we'll call that co-national champion with whoever won in the fall.
Ooh,
I agree. I think that's the way it should be.
Interesting.
So that's just me talking, because the Pac-12 and the Big Ten would normally they're tied at the hip anyway. The champions would play in the Rose Bowl except for the playoff things. So why not do it that way? That's just me talking. All right,
I think.
So what we're talking about, college football, the Big Ten, Wayne Sebastianelli, Penn State's director of athletic medicine, revealed that 30 to 35% of the cardiac MRI scans conducted on Big Ten athletes who had contracted COVID-19 appeared to show myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle.
Yeah.
So, and that's what they were worried about. That's what both conferences, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, were really worried about, was that this could cause that in their athletes and cause serious health issue. Because let's be honest, a really finely well-tuned athlete who contracts COVID is probably not going to get much. You're not going to see much reaction from the COVID itself.
Right.
But if this
it's not going to wreak enough havoc on your body.
If it's going to cause problems with their heart, that becomes a gigantic issue. And health and safety first, absolutely, it's true. It's what they needed to do. Anyway, the quote from Sebastianelli says that when we looked at our COVID-positive athletes, whether they were symptomatic or not, 30 to roughly 35% of their heart muscles are inflamed. And we really just don't know what to do with it right now until it's still very early in the infection. Some of that has led to the Pac-12 and Big Ten decision to sort of put a hiatus on what's happening. And he's absolutely right. That's exactly what they were citing was this could be a gigantic health issue, and how if the Big Ten bowed to the parent pressure and said, "Hey,
to the GJT,
we're going to play, we're going to play anyway," and then someone dies from this, from the myocarditis, not the COVID-19, but it will be COVID-19 related. I mean, it will be.
Yeah.
But if they die from getting that, at what point in time you're going to see somebody sue the Big Ten or sue that school? Well, why'd you let them play? Well, you're the ones who told us that you wanted to play, so we went and did it.
Right.
So
I
anyway,
saw I saw a great post the other day that said, without being overwhelmingly political, there's a lot of people out there who are blaming deaths on underlying conditions and not COVID.
right,
Right? They're blaming this instead of that. And so I saw a post that said, if I have low blood sugar and I'm running in the woods and a bear mauls me, I'm taken to the hospital, and because they can't control my low blood sugar while I'm in the hospital, I die. The bear killed me, not the low blood sugar.
right,
And so this is exactly what's
yeah,
happening here. Is they're worried about, okay, so COVID's going to get you, it's going to infect you, it's going to cause these problems. Is it going to cause another issue that then has an issue? If you have myocarditis and you go out there and you're taking hits and you're running around and your heart is beating at 1,000,000 miles per minute and swelling up as it is
right,
because blood's pumping
sure,
through, and you have a heart attack on the sideline, and it's all because you caught COVID originally.
right.
That's why we're at this point. And yeah, there are a couple conferences that looked at information very objectively. And there are some conferences that are looking at it very subjectively, which is where we're at.
Right. And so, speaking of that, the Pac-12 announced today that it has entered into an agreement with diagnostic test leader Quidel Corporation to implement up to daily testing for COVID-19 with student athletes across all of its campuses for all close contact sports.
Right.
And it's a major step towards resuming sports competition in the Pac-12.
Right.
Um, it it will significantly reduce the number of contact traces required and the breadth of contact tracing required. So I think that it's a step in the right direction, and
Right.
I think that's what everyone should have been striving for to begin with, was the ability to test regularly. Um, that way you can see when there's a problem. You nip it in the bud. If you're not testing like you should be, or people aren't taking tests, because didn't we just have some coach inadvertently say,
Or haven't been tested in weeks.
my players haven't been tested in weeks?
Right, which is what's going to happen. You're going
Oh
to
my
have coaches
gosh.
and administrators who lie
Sure.
about the frequency of testing and things like that.
Or the results.
Or the results.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. There are conferences that have decided to look at this whole thing and go, okay, we don't know what the hell is going on, so we need to stop moving and figure it out.
Right.
And then there are other conferences that I feel like, have some political affiliations to keep going.
Well,
and then there are conferences right in the middle, like the Big Ten.
Right. And
or in between this and that.
And I hope that they can, and I think that they did the right thing in postponing sports, and I still feel like that was the right thing to do. And if you can introduce this rapid testing and test every day for things, then I think you're on the right track. Until it goes away. If it goes away, this may never go away.
We could be dealing with this for the next 5 years, people.
This could be the flu. It could be just the same as getting the flu, and every year it comes back around, and it flares up and goes away, and it flares up, and you know what I mean? And that's the reason why you go get a flu shot, so you don't get the flu. It's almost identical, only it is a little bit different in the way it attacks your body.
Right.
So, anyway.
It's just wild. People are taking a lot of health for granted, and it like I said, it's the same way every time. Americans are very stubborn people, and that's one of the things that makes us great and makes us terrible. There are a lot of people out there who are going to say this is not a problem until it's a problem in their home.
Right. It's absolutely true.
That's just how it is. Some things have to hit home for people to understand.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move along to the big league.
Right.
We have some NFL questions before we start this year, and I want to talk about them. So let's talk about them. The Buccaneers. Let's start with TB. Are the Buccaneers overrated before they've even played a game with Tom Brady? And how many wins do you think is a reasonable expectation for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year?
I think they're absolutely overrated. I think that the addition of Tom Brady into a new system with a new coach in and of itself isn't necessarily a great thing. He's a great player, but he's always been with the same coach. He's always done the same things. He's always done it his way. He's always played in that type of weather, blah, 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 blah. There's 1,000 reasons why you could think this is a bad thing. Your only argument for it being a good thing is that, well, it's Tom Brady.
Right? If you're a Tom Brady fan, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your other argument might be, well, he's now with an offensive-minded coach.
Sure.
It's like, great, but that might not help him. We don't know if that's going to help him. That's not an answer. Right. So I think a reasonable expectation of wins, for that team with the talent that they have, with Tom Brady, you assume he's going to be decent. With Gronk, you assume he's going to be decent. If they have Leonard Fournette, if that actually goes through, you'd think that bolsters their running back situation a little bit. And they had a decent defense last year at times. Like it was very streaky. I'd say 8-9 wins would be a good expectation. An excellent expectation would be 10-11.
So yeah, so what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at Tom Brady, who was the best player in a weak division.
Right. Okay. He has thrived off of being able to kick the Bills' butt for years and kick the Dolphins' butts and the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah. These have been laughing stocks of the league for however long. The Bills no more.
Right.
The Dolphins even kind of got a lot of buzz going, not with Tua, but even like last year, they kind of had some buzz to them. And the Jets, they got Le'Veon, and everyone was very excited about that, but they're still laughing stocks, and we don't have to worry about that.
So I feel like that the fact that he was the best player in a very weak division made his numbers and his wins look so much better than they really should have been. This is going to be a true test. He's moving into a division that's very tough.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be the premier division in the NFL this year.
It should be.
There's no.
We'll see if Teddy Bridgewater does what he needs to do, and we'll see if Matt Ryan.
Even if he doesn't, I think that the quality of the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints is way better than the quality of the Buffalo Bills and, let's say, the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
So
I would argue that.
Yeah, you're moving up quite a big step, not just a gigantic step. I think this is the toughest division now. I would have said it was the AFC West at one point, and then the Broncos decided to lay an egg.
So, and then the Raiders decided to and then the Chargers just did what the Chargers do.
The Chargers are always the same. Anyway, so I would tell you that I want to give them 10 wins. I feel like it's going to be 9-7.
That's fair.
Now, that's only, I think, one game better than last year.
That's right.
And so how do you justify that? Oh, we put in Gronk and we put in TB, and this is, if you only have one more win than last year, what is that saying about that? And so anyway, we'll wait and find out, I guess.
It's saying that it wasn't Weinstein.
Right. So, okay. Second question. Kansas City. Yep. Can they do what they did last year? Can Patrick Mahomes be that good again? And how much pressure is he under to live up to the $500 million hype of the contract?
That is entirely up to Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes is the only person that can stop Patrick Mahomes from being good right now. I think that Patrick Mahomes, with the worst line in the league, would still be fantastic if he chose to be.
Yeah.
So the question is he fat and happy now? Did he get this big $500 million paycheck or contract? Whatever. But did he get this big contract? And now he's like, I can relax a little bit. Brought him a Super Bowl. I got a big contract. I'm good.
Right.
I've secured my place in the Hall of Fame probably. I'm good.
Already? Oh, come on now.
Dude, the dude just got a $500 million contract.
If
he got almost as much money as some NFL teams are worth.
Yes, but hold on. Let's just say, for argument's sake, Patrick Mahomes plays 3 games this year and breaks his leg.
Right.
And he can't play football ever again. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Well, you have to look at the body of work. Based on the body of work.
3 years? 2 years? Whatever? He cannot be a Hall of Famer if you only played 2 years.
There's a yearly requirement
you can't,
for the Hall of Fame.
I would never vote in a person in the Hall of Fame that hasn't played at least, 10 years.
Well, let me ask you a question. What if he died? What if Patrick Mahomes plays 3 games, has 3 or 4 touchdowns a game, and then gets into a car accident and dies? Is he Hall of Fame worthy?
Just because he died?
Are you giving him sympathy because he died?
No.
You're considering it right now just because he died.
No, you can't.
The fact of the matter is that when he dies, you look back at what he's done and you go, man, that was a great run.
You're going to make him an honorable Hall of Famer.
Oh,
you're going to make him like an honorary.
That's insulting. No.
Yeah,
you
he's
don't
not a
do
Hall.
that.
He's at this point in his time in his career, whether he's alive or dead, he is not a Hall of Famer. You cannot have a ballot tomorrow and
Well,
he'll get Hall of Fame votes to go in. It's not going to happen.
I made that comment assuming he plays pretty good for the next few years like
Oh,
he has.
well, now
If he has 5 more good years over the course of his career,
right,
and barring any really bad years,
right.
that can't happen either. But if he has 5 more good years, we're talking about an 8-year career. Yes, he could be a Hall of Famer, just based on mostly on what he did early in his career. So,
all right.
But Patrick Mahomes can absolutely recreate what he did last year.
You think so?
And that team could be as good as they were last year, even with all the players opting out and things like that.
Yeah.
I just think that the other teams in that division
are going to play better.
Are going to play better than they did in recent years. I think the Raiders are going to play better. The Chargers are definitely going to play better. And I think the Broncos are going to play better.
Okay. So, next question. Todd Gurley, going to be in Atlanta this year. He has been a pretty reliable, last couple of years injury related, but pretty reliable running back. Is he going to be good in Atlanta? Is he going to be better than he was the last couple of years in LA?
I don't know what happened in Atlanta to make them move on from their fantastic duo that they had. But for whatever reason, they shipped off a piece, and now Todd Gurley's there. I do not see Todd Gurley doing the things that you're kind of expecting of him, doing the things that you kind of want Todd Gurley to do. I don't think he's that guy anymore. I think he benefits from moments or schemes. I think that McVay's scheme worked very well for him. And I think that when he could stay healthy, if he could stay healthy, he was a 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 20 yards. He's that guy. He has these little bursts. It's the dude from Austin Peay who had 75 on one and only 20 yards through the rest of the game. So that's Todd Gurley for you in a nutshell. But the problem is you don't always get those big ones. And when you don't get the big one, then you have 35 yards on 10 carries. And that's not great. And that's how he kind of goes.
So I will tell you this. In 2019, he was down. His carries were down. His yards were quite a bit down. His average per carry, 3.8 yards. 12 touchdowns still. Caught 31 passes and scored 2 touchdowns receiving. In 2018, which is just 2 years ago, he had 1,251 yards rushing, averaged 4.9 yards a game, 17 rushing touchdowns, caught 59 passes for 580 yards. He was as good a running back as anybody in the NFL.
He got hurt when it mattered.
Right. So last year he was down. Still 857 yards rushing and 207 yards receiving. That's still over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and 14 touchdowns. So it's not like he can't play.
What you're really asking is Todd Gurley going to stay healthy?
Can he be good enough to be a 1,000-yard rusher and be that dependable guy that can be the balance to Matt Ryan?
If he stays healthy, and if they keep that other running back that they have.
Because that's a lot of ifs.
That's the Todd Gurley way right now. Is a lot of ifs. If he does this and if he does that, then he should be fine. If he doesn't do this, then he won't be fine. If this doesn't happen, then he won't be fine. And unfortunately, there are people like that who need the qualifiers. There are some guys that don't. I have no fear that even if the Panthers suck, that Christian McCaffrey's still going to have 1,200 rushing yards.
It's true.
No fear. I'm not stressing that at all. I would if you tried to go to Vegas right now and tried to bet on whether Christian McCaffrey was going to have 1,000 rushing yards, you would be losing money making the bet.
Yeah.
Because he's going to. But Todd Gurley, you're just not sure. So if you want to talk about consistency in that vein, you have to kind of compare him to other guys who have been consistent, and he's just not quite. So I don't have faith in him. Not yet.
All right.
He can make it up though.
All right, so we got some rapid fire questions. We gotta wrap it up. So you ready?
Okay. Yep.
Will Justin Herbert be the opening day starter in LA?
No, they've already said he won't. They already said they came out today and said Tyrod would be the starter, or yesterday.
How long will it take before he becomes the starter?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. All right.
4 weeks exactly.
When will Marcus Mariota become the starter in LA? Las Vegas.
Week 7.
Week 7. Okay.
Week 7.
All right.
By week 8, 2 of the 4 teams in the AFC West are going to be quarterbacked by Ducks. This is great.
Okay. Will Denver and Drew Lock be a competitor in the AFC West, or will they be the also-ran?
They'll be a competitor. I think that every team in that division is going to be a competitor. Unfortunately, I think the team that's got the highest chance of bust is the Raiders, just because I'm not sold on Gruden as a coach. I've never really been sold on Gruden as a coach. He's walked into situations that have been pretty favorable for him. So this situation has not been favorable for him, and so far the results have not been favorable. So I think that with that in mind, the Raiders being down, the Chiefs are still working through whatever the Chiefs work through, but since they moved on from Phillip Rivers, they should be a little better. I think the Broncos have some ground to get. You added a couple wide receivers. You added, Melvin Gordon. You did a lot of good things. Right. So hopefully it works out.
So let me ask you this. They have 5 running backs on the roster still right now. Yeah. And my question is this. How many running backs will have been on their roster at the end of the year? What's the over-under on total number of running backs that were on the Denver roster at some point this year?
It's going to be 5.
You think it's just 5?
It's where it's at right now. They're going to drop one, I think, here soon. And then they might drop another one before the end of the season. But they're not going to bring in anybody.
And then there's an injury, and they got to move another one, right?
Well,
they'll bring one of those other guys back up.
Or they'll put them on a practice squad. They'll put one of those guys on a practice squad. Right. They'll bring him back up. Yeah, something like that. Okay. But I think at the end of the day, you're looking at Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, and Royce Freeman are your 3 premier backs.
Okay. Last question.
Oh boy.
Since we covered your team, can Tua make the Dolphins relevant?
Well, he's already making them relevant, isn't he?
No,
we're talking about it.
He's making them topical.
That's true.
Can they be relevant in the NFL playoff conversation?
Same as Todd Gurley. If he stays healthy, if he can buck the injury horse that he's been kind of dealing with the last 2 years at Alabama, I don't see a reason why he couldn't. Because they've got plenty of talent in plenty of positions. And Fitzmagic did a lot of great work with that team that, and they were kind of down, but they're kind of making some steps in the right direction. So I think they'll be fine.
So, and I'm a gigantic Dolphins fan, in case everybody knows. But I'm 7 wins. They're going to get 7.
I think he can make them a 9-win team, but
7 wins. They're going to have 7.
I don't know.
They're going to have 7 wins this year. I've been watching the Dolphins play since I was 4, and since I could watch a TV basically, and 7 wins. They're going to get 7 wins this year. Something will happen. Tua will eventually get a chance to play and start. He's not going to be great at it. Something's going to.
The question mark surrounding that team is the Patriots. Because we know the Bills are going to be decent.
Well, they just named Cam the starter and a captain.
If the Patriots are good and the Bills are good, man, it's good. The Dolphins have no hope.
Right.
It's just an unfortunate reality because they're going to lose 2 games to the Patriots or 1-1, and then 2 games to the Bills. So
you just hope you can get those 2 games against the Jets. Anyway,
if you don't, there's a bigger issue.
And we want to send out our condolences to Ryan Fitzpatrick and his family for the loss of his mother. Who we've nicknamed Mama Magic at this point.
Right.
And we also, one more, to the New York Mets family. Tom Seaver passed away this week, and probably the best New York Met player ever. Just off the top of my head, and I'm a New York Mets fan as well. So, yeah, it was sad. It's sad to see that stuff, and like I said, our condolences go out to both those the families and the teams, and those are tough. I mean, it's tough for a guy to lose. My mother passed away in April, and it is tough. It's tough. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I can't imagine going out and trying to perform at a football level the day your mother passed away.
Yeah.
There's I don't even know how you do that. But that's what he's got to go out and do, and so. Hopefully he'll find some strength and get through it. All right. So brings us to our trivia question.
Oh boy.
The trivia question answer for the second trivia question, not the first trivia question, which was Morton Anderson, but the second trivia question. Do you remember the question?
I do not.
The trivia question was, which team has the lowest week 1 winning percentage in NFL history? And the bonus question was, which team has the highest week 1 winning percentage?
Right.
So who has the lowest one? Take a guess.
I'm gonna shoot my shot here. I'm gonna say it's the Cardinals.
It is not the Cardinals. So the answer is the New Orleans Saints.
Really?
They have the worst opening day win percentage at 352. They are 19-35 all time in week 1.
They got warmed up, I guess.
Something like that. And so secondly,
yeah.
Who? This is the bonus question. Who is the highest winning percentage in Week 1 games?
I'm gonna guess the Minnesota Vikings.
It's the Denver Broncos.
Oh, let's go, Coast.
At 676, they're 50, 23, and 1 all time in opening day games.
All right.
So, yeah, Denver just beat out Dallas. And the Saints, by the way, just beat out Seattle for last
Seattle
place.
has the second,
Seattle has the second worst winning percentage of opening day games all time.
I'll make sure I let AJ know.
Yeah,
he'll be thrilled.
He will be excited about it. I mean, that's whew. All right. So that is basically it for this week. Any final thoughts before we move along?
Oh, I think that the world's starting to normalize a little bit, but people should still be vigilant about wearing their masks and keeping some space and not stand behind me in line at Fred Meyer.
Right behind you.
Take a step. If I lean back and my butt touches your cart, you are too close.
There are marks on the floor, people.
Okay, so here's all right, bigger question. This is bigger than everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
Do you put your feet on the mark or do you put your cart on the mark?
So the cart is about 4 feet long.
Right.
As an FYI. With my arms extended, it's almost exactly 6 feet.
Okay.
Away. So
Okay.
if I put my cart and I hit the next person in line, but my arms are fully extended, that is exactly 6 feet. I'm the proper distance from you.
But now your cart's on someone's butt.
But I really shouldn't be touching you, so let's leave a little extra space.
So so step back, center it around your cart.
If you can put your feet right on the mark, then there's no way to criticize that, is there?
If you don't hold anything in your hands, if you don't have a cart, stand right on the mark.
Just stand right on the mark.
But if you have a cart, I like to put kind of back center of the cart straight over the mark.
I will tell you the best thing to say when someone comes up to you and they're too close to you. And it happens all the time. Grocery stores are one of my I hate people. I'm just going to let that be known. I'm not a big fan.
Not a big fan of people.
I'm not a big fan of people. And people at grocery stores are probably some of the worst people ever because they're inconsiderate, they're rude, they don't care about anything. They're focused on this and not you, and it drives me nuts. So when they get in line and there's someone behind you, this happened to me at the grocery store. There was a lady right behind me, and she's like bumping me with her little basket, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Like, where am I going to go? I turned around to her and I said, "Do I know you?" And she goes, I don't think so. And I said, "Well, then why are you standing so close to me?" So that'll get them thinking about, oh shit, what am I doing? Anyway, so there you go. There's your answer. That's how you do it.
It's funny that you said people in the grocery store, but that is everyone.
It is everyone. But
at some point, you are the people in the grocery store.
I'm sure.
Somebody else in the grocery store is like, why is this guy still standing in front of the hop dogs?
Right?
I don't get it. What is he expecting the hot dogs? I need to get over there.
How come he can't make a decision? Just pick up the ballpark Franks and move along.
I watched a person stand in front of the macaroni and cheese, the Kraft macaroni and cheese. There's only two kinds. And she stood in front of the Kraft. Well, so of the regular macaroni. So you can get in like the Auntie Anne's, and they have the other types of macaroni, the Velveeta's. You can get the store brand, but I'm talking about she stood in front of the Kraft section.
Oh, okay.
Picked up the macaroni, inspected the box like she had never observed Kraft macaroni before. Put it back, went for a different shape of noodle of still Kraft macaroni, as if it's going to taste different.
The spirals do taste different.
The spiral, pick that up. It holds the cheese inside the spiral. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there. I'm like, I just need to grab some. Can you get the hell out of the way? It's 58 cents. Just eat it and try both.
And maybe so this is gonna sound wrong, and I'm gonna throw it out there. Maybe she has money. Because people with money probably aren't used to eating Kraft macaroni and cheese. And when she went out to go get some for once, to go try it, now you got to examine it because this is something you never had before. People who came from poor, they've eaten Kraft macaroni and cheese a lot.
We're familiar with the cheese.
I know about Kraft. I know about all the Kroger brand of macaroni, the Fred Meyer brand, whatever. The Safeway brand. It's okay. Macaroni and cheese, although I will say this, the Kraft macaroni, the deluxe one, just tastes so much better than the powdered crap that you put on the other one.
I'll tell you where they get you is on like the Rugrats ones. And
the special shapes.
Those are garbage.
Yeah.
Those are garbage macaroni and cheese.
But they're for kids though. That's not for you.
What are you talking
and
about? I still eat dinosaur-shaped
a
nuggets.
serious adult is going to pick the deluxe Kraft macaroni and cheese with the liquid, the gooey cheese, not the powder cheese, and he's going to add something to it. Pulled pork, andouille sausage. He's going to add something, or she.
Costco hot
Right,
dogs. Cut
whatever,
them up. Throw them in.
whatever turns you on. Chicken, barbecue, buffalo chicken. Anything you throw in there is going to make that macaroni and cheese fantastic.
It elevates it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you go about that. Anyway.
But the bigger point was people just keep a little space.
Yeah, just give us a little space. I mean, especially now. I mean, there's no reason for you. Anyway, okay. So, are we going to do a show on Sunday?
We are doing a show on Sunday.
Sunday,
or maybe we'll do it Saturday.
I don't know. Probably.
I got some things going on Sunday, but I'm free all Saturday. We'll work it off air.
So let's do that Saturday night.
Okay.
Okay. Our next show is going to be Saturday, September 5th. That's like 2 days, people.
Something like that.
We can do it. I don't know, 1 o'clock. That's our normal time.
Afternoon time. Yep.
Okay, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific. That's 4 Eastern. We can talk about the rest of the NBA playoffs. We'll give you some more quick NCAA football updates, and we'll talk about the games in progress that are on Saturday when we're there. Wow, live in-show updates of scores from football. I feel
that's going to be exciting stuff.
I'm almost giddy.
We're going to have to change our schedule to accommodate Bronco football games because you know me. I lock in.
What will happen is you'll tune into it and you'll be given the Bronco updates in the middle of the show.
No, what you'll hear is me in the background going, yes!
Well, no, maybe not. Anyway, depends on who they're playing.
That's pretty much it.
Anyway, we'll do the NBA, we'll do the NCAA. We'll keep you informed of all the news that we think is interesting. # get your own show. We're live streaming on YouTube almost every weekend when we're not having technical difficulties. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. On Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us, lammsports@gmail.com. If you go to our webpage, lammsports.com, you can leave us a message there, and it will actually send a message to our email. If you have a comment, a concern, a question, something you want us to talk about, please feel free to reach out to us. And I'm just telling you right now, I'm watching our YouTube feed right here, and there are concurrent viewers and playbacks and likes all on this episode. So
hell yeah.
Clearly, when we're not having technical difficulties, the show is pretty good.
Shout out to everyone that's listening right now. I hope you enjoyed the supermarket thing.
We want to thank, yeah. And trust me, there'll be food talk almost every episode. We talked about food on almost every episode of one kind or another, just whatever.
Yeah. This week, macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, right. So we want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stavenstone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. Thanks for listening.